12 years. Okay. So I guess it's changed. Okay. So what ended up happening was I did my bachelor's, I did my master's, and I had a great time doing it. And I got really good grades in my schools and colleges. I went to one of the top universities in India, which is actually the same university where Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO, came from as well. But I hated my job. Now, because I'm not able to see everybody here, so I would just assume that some of you have been in jobs which you hated. Guess what? You may have an employee who hates his or her job as well. Would you like that employee with you? The answer is obviously no. And we'll cover more of that in detail. So I hated my job, not because I did not know how to do the job. So let's make sure you and I understand that. I had the background, I had the knowledge, I had the skills. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy my job. As you can guess from my style, I'm a people guy. I don't want to be sitting at a desk programming, talking only to a computer, not a live person. So I was the guy who was like, hey, I need a break. I need to go talk to somebody. I need to go get a cup of coffee. I need to go drink water. I need to go to bathroom. Why? Because I was looking for people interaction. So I was a good person, capable person in the wrong role. And we'll cover that today more in detail. So finally, I gave up that. In fact, I was laid off, which was one of the wonderful terms of being fired or whatever you want to call that in my computer programming job. And then I decided to start becoming an author, speaker, and a business coach, which is what I've been doing for over 20 years. I've published 10 different books and I enjoy a great life. So all of you here today, you did not get in business just to be in business. If you're like me, you wanted something out of business. And if you are somebody who has all the results you want from business, great. This seminar, you can teach me more about it, right? On the other hand, if you are somebody who's looking for more currently, what I would call more time, more money, and obviously a little bit more of relationships and the right people in your roles, we will talk about that today. I enjoy a great life today. So to give you a sample of that, these are some of the books that I have published. And this is my family, my wife, Kim. We've been married for almost 30 years now. My daughter turns 18 next month, and she's following my footsteps in entrepreneurship. My son is now 13 years old. We have been to Disney World. You will not believe this, over 200 times, right? And you would be like, how does that happen? Well, we live in Michigan, but in winter, typically we go down to Florida. We get an annual pass, and then we go practically every day after 3, 4 o'clock. We homeschool our children, by the way. So that way we have the flexibility to do that, because I did not get in business to just be in business. Now I do what I enjoy to do. I work Saturday, Sunday, whenever I want. I wake up at 5 o'clock on Sundays. Why? Because I'm doing something I enjoy. That is the key. If you do what you enjoy, it's not work anymore, but you still need a result. And the result for all entrepreneurs typically is going to be more time, more flexibility, and no headaches with employees or other people. Well, that's really the ideal situation to be in, right? And that's really what we are going to talk about today. So this webinar is for you, somebody who's working hard, making things happen, but you are still struggling to make sure that when you are gone, like Robert Kiyosaki says, if you have a real business, you can walk away for a year and come back to see it even more profitable. So if you are somebody who's struggling to take a vacation for a day, for a few hours, maybe a week, then it's time to look at the people you have on your team. And that's really what we're going to talk about. I'm going to show you. So let me just back up a little bit here. So now we'll be giving away some bonus. So 5 questions will get 30 minutes. So 5 people, those 5 people who will be asking those questions will get 30-minute consulting. And I'll let Lorna Peters decide how to pick those people. Okay. And then bonus for attending. So for those who are going to stay till the end, this book, there will be a link given out. And if you have more than 10 people, that will be fine. But currently we have 10 people. So all you have to do is fill in your info. I'll put that link in the question and answers, or I'll give it to Lorna Peters. So you can just fill out the link. It gives me the address, and you will get the book totally free in the mail for you. So I appreciate you all for coming, which is the reason I'm doing this, because I really, really think you all get a lot of value from it, but you are committed enough to be here. So here is the goal. We are going to be talking about 7 steps. These are 7 steps which will show you how to build a winning team around you using powerful online assessments and templates of what has worked for other successful teams. And I'll explain a couple of things about that as we keep moving along. Now, as I said, These are the slides I wanted to quickly show. So let me start with an example of a client. His name is Terrence Murphy. He was a former NFL player. Today, he's a successful realtor, investor, and coach. So here he is, as you can see, Green Bay Packers jersey, and he got hurt. And because he got hurt, he had to cut short his career. He decided to go into business. And here is his testimonial from working with me. Now, here is what happened. He was referred to me about 3 years ago, I think, by somebody who is already very successful as well. And he reached out to him. My friend's name is Josh, and talked about, hey, I'm having challenges in the area of having a great team, because in football he didn't have a problem, right? Somebody didn't do the work, they got fired, right? It's not that complicated. Well, you don't do the same thing in corporate life. And I was lucky enough to, I think this is 2 years ago, that I stopped by at his office in Texas. And as you can see, he's somebody I have to look up to because he's so tall, right? And he's just a great, great guy. So that is what he said. Vinesh has truly been a godsend for me at this point in my entrepreneurship journey. When you are wearing lots of hats and your business is growing rapidly, you need someone like him who understands the pitfalls and landmines of business. He has done an amazing job understanding the way I think and has customized his coaching to help me see results really quickly. I've already sent his contact information to others, business owners, and I will continue this journey with him, knowing it will make me a better person, business owner, and leader in the long run. And he has been kind enough to refer me to a lot of people that he knows. And he's a multiple what do you call business investor kind of person. So he just loves challenges, being in the top 500 growing Inc. companies, etc. So here are the 7 steps that we will be talking about today. The first step is clear vision. When we talk about attracting, hiring, and retaining A players, here is the quality that you have to be remembering. The A players are looking for a leader who has a vision that is clear and compelling to that A player, and the A player can see himself or herself in that vision. So I know this is not something most people talk about, and we'll cover that in another minute here. But remember, your vision determines the kind of person you attract. Number one. Number two is accountability chart. Number 3 step is team member info. So we get some input from people. We do assessments on these people. Then we evaluate each person based on the vision, based on the accountability chart, information we have collected, and the assessments. Once we have evaluated, we may have to reorganize the team. We may have to make sure that the people who are in the right spot are there, right? And the last one is effective leadership. You can have a great team, but if you and I are not being the leader that we need to be, we don't inspire them, we don't empower them, we don't hold them accountable, we don't create and build processes for them to follow, then we will not be effective. And hence, even if we have a great team, we are not the right leader, you're not going to get the great results as well. So that's a very quick overview for that 7 steps that we'll be covering today. So again, who is this webinar for? So you are somebody who has a big vision. You have worked hard to reach a point where you are consistently attracting clients and creating predictable revenue. You're hiring people and are building a team, but feeling stuck in your growth. So this is where you want to scale your business to the next level, but you just don't have whatever is required in order to get there. And that's what we are talking about today. So you know that to have a winning team, you need the right people in the right roles. Now, maybe you already heard about Good to Great, and we'll mention that as well. Good to Great book talks about the right people in the right role. So here is what you know: without the right team, you are stuck working around the clock with no downtime. You're not sure who will show up to work today and whether they'll be ready to work productively. Work hard, bring in great revenue, but do not see enough profit. You do not have enough time to focus on things that will help you dominate the market. And you will never enjoy a true vacation without any interruptions. Phone calls, you're in Hawaii, and still, you get a call saying, hey, I have a problem with this client, I have a problem with this file. I mean, it's not fun. That's not fun to enjoy for anybody. And then you'll be always concerned which client will be upset today, who is the next employee to quit. And the bottom line is, you can never build a business that can be sold, because the only businesses that can be sold are the ones that can operate without you. Okay. So now let me give some examples of what wrong people in the role look like. So here is an example. If you have a bookkeeper, the bookkeeper keeps missing details on important reports. The reception is rude to guests and callers. And maybe you called some company and the person who picks up the phone almost sounds like you are bothering them, you are upsetting them. And that's pretty common, right? The salesperson, the person is talking more but selling less. Does that happen to you, right? That happens to a lot of people. The executive assistant inputs important appointments on the wrong dates in your calendar. I was talking to one of my clients, who's a branch manager in a lending company, and she says, I have to remind my assistant to remind me. That's not a good assistant, is it? And we found out when we looked at the report, the person did not have the qualities that we are looking for. Again, here is an example of sales manager does not inspire and hold salespeople accountable. The operations manager is not on top of the inventory and projects. Okay. The customer service person does not collect enough details from the client. So if you are facing any of these issues, it's time to ask the question, do you have the right people in the right roles? Now, you might be somebody who's just starting out to hiring. You might be somebody who has a lot of people on your team. It doesn't matter. The process is going to be still the same. So let me tell you why most entrepreneurs fail in building teams. Now, you already have seen this maybe. You know, most entrepreneurs come from two backgrounds. One is sales, like real estate, mortgage, insurance, etc. And the second one is technical experts like builders, chefs, inventors, etc. But for both of them, they need to grow and build a team around them, because whatever they were good at is not enough to build a business. Because a business has all these requirements, as you see on the picture on the left. You need the CEO there, you need the sales done, you need the operations done, you need the finances done. You need all three. And doing yourself isn't an option. You need other people around you, right? And that's what you have to ask yourself. Do I know enough to how to build a team? See, the skills required are different. See, a successful leader and manager understands and knows how to implement processes and systems in his organization, which is usually a weakness of a salesperson. And you also need to be hiring and training the right people to be productive, loyal, and reliable team players. And here is, I'm actually reading a book called Happy Money by Ken Honda. And it's interesting. He says this: find abundance in yourself and security in people, not money, which is what, if you invest in enough good people, you train, develop them, you are in a place where you can actually get the results you want, and money is a byproduct. Maybe you have read the book Cash Flow Quadrant. The same author, Robert Kiyosaki, I mentioned earlier, is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. It is what, if you haven't read the books, or if you have read the books, here is the bottom line. Number one, you are financially free when your assets produce enough passive income to cover your living expenses. We are all in what we call the rat race. And to get out of the rat race, we must find a way that passive income is covering living expenses. There are four ways to earn income: employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. An employee, somebody controls their time, income, etc. Self-employed controls their time to some degree, right? And their income, but they don't have total freedom because they are the ones who are actually doing everything, right? B is the business owner, where they have other people, systems in order to get results, and they can actually step away if the business is built right, like a McDonald's, right? An investor doesn't have to put in any time in the business part of it. They're only investing money and managing their money in a way that will get them the best result. For all of us, the goal is to be at a point where we are a business owner or an investor or both, where we are able to walk away from the business and the business runs by itself and we still make money. That is the bottom line, right? Let's talk about the cost of a bad hire. Now, without going into detail, just because of time here.
Yeah, Mr. Baxi, if you don't mind pausing for a few seconds here, let's see if we have any questions in the room or in the chat area. I know you've already offered some great information, so I just want to take a little break and let's see if anyone has any questions for us.
Thank you, Lornette.
No problem. And while we're waiting to see if we have any questions, I need to give a quick shout out to the Clarksville Networking Group. They're one of the reasons why we're here today. Danielle Stack is the one who introduced me to Mr. Baxi. And now we're doing this webinar. So thank you, Clarksville Networking Group. For those who are watching us virtually, if you'd like to learn more about the Clarksville Networking Group, I have included a link in the chat area. I don't see any questions, Mr. Baxi, so I think you can continue.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that tremendously. Yeah, there's so much information to cover. So I'm on a speed train here, and which is the reason that the 5 people that LearnEth will pick. So all you need to do is let LearnEth know, and then you can have a one-on-one session with me where I'll help you understand what some of the challenges in your business might be that can be helped through this process, right? And it will be a real coaching consulting session where you give me the input and I'll give you some very specific tips that you can apply in your business. So my friend Todd Screamer, I've known him for 20 years. He built a company from 3 people to 1,000 in the last 20 years. He says a bad hire costs him $50,000. Now, some of you may agree, may not agree with me, but you know the process of hiring, firing takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, takes money. And then if you have the wrong person, then you will have even more problem, right? So 80% of turnovers could be just because of bad hires. So you can learn more about the cost of bad hire. Unfortunately, sometimes in the most not positive way for yourself. Okay, now here is the most important question that we should be asking ourselves during the hiring process. This question is, can this person do what is expected daily with excellence and feel fulfilled in the process in our organization? So we test verbal skills by interviews, but they're not job skills. So always remember, what people have to do is more important than how they present themselves in interview. Now, I'm not saying don't pay attention to that, but just remember, if they're good in an interview, I'll give you my own example. A company flew me down to Arizona. This is while I was still in the computer programming pursuit. And they took my interview. It was a group interview. And I talked to them. They were very impressed, generally speaking, because for a computer programmer, my speaking skills are decent, right? And they were giving me a job based on what they heard, saw, etc. Except this was not the job that I really wanted, which I never accepted because I was like, I'm done. I need to find something else. So anyway, I hope you understand that the question, can this person do what is expected daily with excellence and feel fulfilled in the process in the organization, is the only key question you and I should be asking ourselves during the process of screening a candidate. Now, from the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, right? He talks about the right person in the right seat on the bus. What does that really mean? Well, there are some people, like for example, I'm 5 feet 4, short, 58 years old, turning 59 in about 3 months or so, and I'm not very fast, right? I'm not the guy who's going to be the best fit for NBA, right? LeBron James is a couple of feet taller than me, right? Okay, he can dunk very well, he can run fast, he can move around, very skillful. So, though I'm a great guy, I really think I am. Some of you may not agree, that's okay. I'm a great guy, except I cannot replace LeBron James because I'm not the right person. Is that making sense to you? It's not about anything else, because you and I must realize that we have talents, we have natural tendencies that are easier for us to develop, and those are helpful to other people as well. We should use those. That's why if you have employees already, the person might be right person in the right seat, or you may have a wrong person in the wrong seat or wrong person in the right seat, or you have the right person but in the wrong seat. How does you have a right person? The person has a good cultural match. There is no seat available for that person in that particular role there. So let's talk about the vision. Again, I won't go into detail. You can read a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, where he talks about 8 questions. And the goal in those 8 questions is to make it very, very clear on who you are, where you want to be, and then you can attract the right people, right? So here are the 8 questions. So one of the first questions about employees that you and I need to be aware of is, what are your top 3 to 5 core values? Now, these are not nice sounding buzzwords. Some people say customer service, customers come first. No, no, no. It's like, yeah, those sound nice, but that's not the goal. The goal is to understand that, do you really have clarity about things which are important within your organization that you want to keep reflecting, right? That's the important part. So for example, if somebody says customer service, then the next answer is, okay, what does customer service look like in your organization that would make it a core value? Then we should have some standards on those core values. So for example, if customer service is a core value of your organization, returning calls within the same business day would be a core value. Okay, that is a very simple standard within that core value. So I hope you understand that when you say certain core values, people say integrity, all that. Make sure that there are actual specific standards which are backed up to make sure your core values are being followed. Now, what is your core focus? Some people have one main idea in their business, which is perfect. And you and I need to be clear on what the business should be about. You want to have a 10-year target, 3-year picture, 1-year plan, and then break it down into 90-day quarterly goals. Also, let's make sure we have a way to market and get clients. And then, are there any problems, issues going on in the organization? So people who will set up the 30-minute session with me, I will go over this with them. So at least they have some clarity about the vision. Again, they can cover anything they want, but this is just an example of what can be covered. Let's talk about accountability
We
chart.
have one.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Baxi, we have a quick question
Yes,
about sharing the slides at the end. You will share them with me so I can share them with attendees, right?
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And this is also being recorded, so we can also send out the link with the recording
Correct,
also.
correct. I don't know about you, but sometimes I like watching videos at twice the speed because sometimes I like them to be faster. So if you don't understand mine, you can start at half
Exactly.
the, you can do at half the speed and I'll be okay. So anyway, sorry, I hope the joke
Thank you.
didn't fall too flat. Okay, let's go further up here. So every organization needs to bring in clients and deliver great value. So that's number one. Number two, we have to have systems and people to do that. And number three, our focus should be on profit. So let me repeat that. Every business, the goal is to bring in clients and deliver great value. You must have systems and people to do that. And the focus should be on being profitable. Most businesses do not do those three things well, and eventually they don't exist, right? Because people say, how come this business went out of business? Because they were not doing these things consistently enough. Let's go to the next slide. Now, we won't go into detail on all these roles here because we can have that separate conversation. But remember, generally speaking, a company has a visionary who builds the business. They have an integrator or a right-hand person to make things happen, systems, people, etc. And then there is a sales and marketing person. There's an operations director, finance director. Now, some of these roles might collaborate with other roles depending on the size of the company. So every goal of the business owner is to what? Set people up for success. Everybody wants to enjoy their job. Everybody wants to come and have a great day. And if you and I set them up and ourselves, then we'll have a great results. So I talk to employers and it's an easy thing to do, but most people won't do it. Is like, do we have a clear job description with the top 3 responsibilities of that role? And in fact, one of the things we ask people, even if they're already on your team, is what are the top 3 responsibilities? In fact, I'll give you a story about Steve Jobs. So you know who Steve Jobs is. He was, going to his office, climbing, then went in the elevator, and then he was next to one of his employees. Now, again, maybe he had 5,000 employees at that time. I don't know. And it was like he has a lot of employees. He doesn't know every person, correct? So he started talking to the employee. And the question he asked his employee is, what do I pay you for? That's a simple question. What do I pay you for? And the person fumbled in the answer while the lift, obviously, he was going up the lift here. And by the time they got out of the lift, Steve Jobs fired that person. It's like, somebody who cannot even tell me what I pay them for, I don't need that person on my team. Now, that may sound very harsh to you, and I understand that. But ask yourself, do you know your job description in your company? Do you know the job description of the people in your team? And do they know their job description? Very important. Then, to make it even more clear, we must have daily activity checklist, weekly activity checklist, and key measurable results to measure the performance in that particular role. Now, some of my clients, I work through this list to make sure that their employee is able to function properly. And if these are here in place, you're holding people accountable, training them, guiding them, then you'll get the results you are looking for. Let's go to the part that is important. We want to make sure people have an accountability chart and they are set up for success. Now, one thing which I want to mention here is growth mindset. Now, you are on this call, which tells me you are somebody who's growth mindset oriented, right? What is a growth mindset oriented person? This person consistently is looking to expand the comfort zone, to learn new skills, and create a bigger vision about themselves. And the only way to do that is do it. This is not about reading. This is not about watching. This is about doing things consistently enough to grow your comfort zones, new skills, and a bigger vision. So here are the questions I give employees that I'm researching on a company, right? So the first question is, do you know the top three responsibilities? We just talked about that. Number two, what are three activities you like the most? What are three activities you like the least? And also, what motivates them to give their best performance? So I'll give you an example. Recently, I was talking to a very successful client. She makes well over $1 million a year, and she has a son in the same company in the sales role. And the son is really upset. He's done okay because he has good systems, he has enough skills, but he is very unhappy in the job. And we went through the analysis, and we found out that he does not really like sales because of a couple of key qualities I'll mention to you. What he enjoyed the most, we were asking what kind of project. He says, Minesh, believe it or not, Halloween decoration was most exciting for me. So you may not know all the motivators, but one of the motivators is called aesthetic, which means a person loves creative self-expression, beauty, nature as well. So here is a person whose main motivator is nothing connected to sales, nothing connected to increasing income through commissions, bonuses, etc. No wonder he's unhappy. So you and I need to know what motivates people. I'll give you another example. I have a client whose assistant, her top motivator is, again, decoration. Her ideal job, though she's an assistant to my client, her ideal job is decorating a mall. So we've been trying to figure out how to put her, leave her still in the company and give her some roles, because that's not what she's ever going to do as the assistant to my client. So sometimes it's a challenge. You have a good person, you like the person, you want to keep them, but they're not the best fit for the role, and you and I have to make some tough decisions. Let's go to the next part here. You must determine, does your employee really get the role? Do they really understand what the role is? Do they really want the role? And do they have the capacity, both in terms of training, time, skills, to fulfill the role? Then you want to send the email with these questions. And based on that, you and I will determine whether this is a good fit for this person or not. Now, some people don't want to go through this exercise, like, I don't want to get the bad news. I totally understand that. It depends. If you're having a bad employee, or you have too many problems with the same employee, you and I need to find out what the reasons are. Otherwise, we'll not be able to get the results that we are looking for. Because the most important thing is what? You don't want to be micromanaging. You don't want to be sitting there looking every day to see if the person is getting the job done. So I use assessments. We won't talk about in detail with the time here, but I just want you to be aware that there are online assessments. And the goal of online assessments is to bring information to you that you cannot usually get in resume, in skill testing, and an interview, which is typically what most people do, right? And that's very, very important for you to have. And people who have done assessments, I know Daniel, for example, has done it, Lorneth has done it, and they read it and they're like, wow, this gives me a lot more clarity about me. And hence, you will also get a lot more clarity about the person, the employee, the candidate. And hence, you have a lot more basically good information to make a decision on, right? And because people are doing the assessment on their own, it's not taking your time to do the assessment. You are able to get the results very quickly, look at it. And once I teach you a few things, you'll be able to say, okay, this makes sense. I see why this would be a good fit, why this would not be a good fit for the role, right? Sometimes there is personal bias which comes in play. It's like, hey, I went to the same college, university, I came to the same town, high school, etc. You know the same people. Well, it's not always helpful. And I'll give you an example. So one of my clients called me up and said, hey, I want my brother to do the assessment because I want to find out what role I can put him in on my team. And I said, what does he do? He's like, hey, he's working for a nonprofit. And then he started telling me all the horror story about his brother. His brother is not motivated, doesn't really like working. He's just not that, what I would call, ambitious enough, and maybe not as responsible and mature enough, right? I mean, it was just one of those situations. Maybe you don't have any such relatives. Most people do have such relatives, but he wanted to help his brother. His brother, over a week later, had not even taken the assessment, though we had sent the link to him. So we started talking again. I said, you know what? Don't bring him onto your team. Your team is doing really well. You're making big money. If you bring in somebody who is really not motivated, who is not willing to do the best, other people will get depressed and their morale will go down and you will hurt your current production. He understood what I told him. He never hired his brother. So that's why just be aware that using assessments, using these processes will give you enough awareness to make the right choices to be productive. So I use different types of assessments. DISC is one of them. Some people are quite familiar with it. There are some free versions available, which frankly I don't recommend because they're not accurate. Motivators is why people do what they do. Emotional quotient is how people manage their emotions and relationships. And competencies is the soft skills. What soft skills do they have? Now, I love showing by example and I love having some fun. So let's see if we can actually show the screen here. Let me go to the next slide here and see if we can actually see a quick video clip from a movie called Zootopia. Maybe you have seen the movie Zootopia. This is the trailer of the sloth. So this is the fox and the bunny walking into the DMV where sloths are there. Okay, so let's see how that goes.
Coming through.
This is Officer McCorn. We got a 1031.
I got dibs! Officer Hobbs, I am in pursuit! Woo, woo! I need you to run a plate.
Flash is the fastest guy in there. He can run the plate like that.
Wait. They're all sloths?
What, are you saying that because he's a sloth, he can't be fast? Flash, 100-yard dash. Buddy, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
Officer Judy Hobbs, CPD, how are you?
I am doing
Fine?
well. What
Hang in there.
can I do
Well, I was hoping you could run a
for
plate.
you
Well, I was hoping you
today?
Well, I was hoping you could run a plate for us. We are in a really big hurry.
What's the plate
29 T
number?
29 THD03.
2 9 T
HD03.
H
D03.
D
03.
0.
3.
Hey, Flash, want to hear a joke?
No!
Sure.
Okay. What do you call a three-humped camel?
I don't know.
Pregnant.
Ah. Ah.
Ah, yes, very funny, very funny. Can we please just focus on the task?
Hey.
Oh, wait.
Priscilla.
Oh, no!
Yes. Flash?
What do
No!
you call
A three-humped camel? Pregnant! Okay, great,
Three.
we got it. Please jump.
humped?
Ah! Hurry, we gotta beat the rush hour in. It's night!
Okay. So let me stop the share for a second. So when you watch the video, ask yourself, are you more like the bunny? Are you like a fox? Or are you like the sloth? Now, typically, most people won't say they are sloths, so we will omit that part of the question here. But imagine if the bunny, whose only focus is what? Results, right? Bottom line, results. How would the bunny be in customer service? Not really good, would it? Right? How about the fox? The fox is looking for what? Attention, interaction. When things are going on, not paying attention is like, hey, you know what? I still want to tell my joke because I am not I have not been talking. I didn't get the attention I wanted. So they don't pay attention to what's going on. They just want to be interrupting here. So the fox, interrupts. And that's where the fox is not the right person to be in certain other roles, including handling details, mundane tasks, because they're going to be easily distracted. Now, I'm more of a fox, but being in business, sometimes I have to act like a bunny because my clients, majority of them are $1 million earners. They are very, very quick. It's like I have a friend who's very successful, worth over $100 million, and he will leave a message for 10 seconds. Happy birthday, nice talking to you, boom, gone, right? I mean, it's just amazing because these people are fast. They want to get things done just like the bunny. And I have had to switch my style to match some of their styles as well. So ask yourself, in fact, I would love to hear in the chat, if you have access to chat right now, is are you a bunny or are you a fox or whatever else you want to mention about it? So go ahead and put it in the chat. I would love to hear some responses from you because I think it can help you and I learn about the different types of people that we are interacting with on a daily basis. So go ahead and put that in the chat. I think it'll be fun to know. If you're putting it in there, Lorna can monitor it for me and she can interrupt me and we will go from there. So let me continue the slide here a little bit. So let's oh, sorry. So the DISC assessment is DISC. So D, people are dominant, I, influencing, S, steadiness, C, compliance. I'm not going into detail, but that's why I gave you the video clip. So you can kind of get a sense of it. D's are bossy type of people, which is the bunny. I is the fox. And those are the people who generally are the leaders of the company. They are typically the business owners in the company. Does it mean there are not too many people who to some degree are like sloth and in charge of companies? That there are. Okay, but it's not always very common to see that, generally speaking, right? So that's why we use these assessments. DISC is one of them, which takes only about 10 minutes, and you immediately find out where the person is on the report, right? Okay. We use motivators. So what is a motivator? So by taking an online assessment, we find out what is it that makes a person get out of bed? What gets them excited for the day? And it is that hidden force that energizes you to tackle your career with enthusiasm and ambition. So for example, some people are money motivated. So they just love getting results and getting paid on performance. These are the people in commission. These are the people who own businesses. And there is another person who loves leadership. So these are also the people in entrepreneurship who want to be in charge. They don't want to have other people dictate terms to them. They want to grow in the corporate ladder or better yet, be on their own. So those are a couple of motivators which are very important. But the other part that is important is you cannot have those people, which means people who have high money motivation and people who have a desire to be the leader in customer service, because then they will not be focused on customer service. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So while DISC describes the how, like how people talk, how people walk, how people act, and in fact, if you just paid attention to that today and tried to match and mirror how people talk, if they talk fast, you talk fast. If they talk slow, you talk slow. You will suddenly form a bridge and build rapport much quicker than you thought you could just by following the guidance of their, communication, their moving, their body, etc. Now, motivators are the ones which describe the why behind picking that profession, and motivators is even more important than uh, than the DISC report in determining somebody's profession. People whose money motivation is higher tend to end up in sales. Okay, let's quickly talk about emotional quotient. So according to Justin Bariso, intelligence quotient is the intellectual ability to manage ideas, knowledge, and thoughts, whereas EQ, emotional quotient, is the ability to manage relationships with other people. Now, most people focus on IQ, but not EQ. EQ is more important at workplace. This is what will help people get along with other people, be able to manage their emotions when they are not getting things done, other things are not happening, they're upset. They are able to handle their emotions well. So EQ is more important and more determining of somebody's success. So here are the 5 things we measure in emotional quotient. Number 1, self-awareness, which is moods, emotions, and drives. Self-regulation is your ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods, like you're upset, you're sad, or you're too happy. That could be the case too. Then how can you be actually paying attention and connect with other people, right? Social awareness is about other people. So can you pay attention to other people? Do you know how you affect other people? And then social regulation is your ability to influence the emotional clarity of others through a proficiency in managing relationships and building networks. What that means is if somebody is upset, can you get them to calm down, right? I mean, somebody walks into your office, they had an issue, client, customer, somebody had an issue, and you're talking to that person. Are you able to recognize their feelings, emotions? Are you able to connect and empathize with them? Are you able to actually make a change for the better in their position at that moment? And motivation. So motivation is a passion to work for reasons that go beyond the external drive for knowledge, utility, surroundings, others, power, or methodology. See, one of the questions people have is this person going to be a self-starter? If the EQ motivation is high, the person is likely to be a self-starter, which means you don't have to keep pushing them to do things. They will do things on their own. And that's very helpful when you're dealing with employees and you're like, why is this person not moving fast enough? Why are they not actually taking responsibility? Check their EQ motivation. I think you'll figure some things out there as well. Now, what I do is I put together all of this in one place to make it easier. And I'll give you the example of disk profile. So a team will have different types of people on the roll. So for example, if you are an insurance company like Daniel's company or a real estate company like Hannah, so there will be salespeople and support people. And salespeople are usually the outgoing, aggressive, talk to people, right? Whereas the people who are more on the support side are the ones who are going to be helping the salesperson deliver on the promises that the salesperson makes, right? Okay, so let's look at this wheel here. I don't know if you can see this wheel here, but there are too many people on the right side of the wheel, not enough on the left side of the wheel, which means what? The function that is going to be missing, not done well, is the customer service taking care of details and following through with people. So if you look at your team and everybody's on one side, you're to be asking yourself, do I really have the right people in the right role? And that's very helpful for you to be able to understand that. So anyway, I would like to open it up for questions. I have some more couple of tips to give you, but I would like to see if there are any other questions. And Lornette, if you have any areas that you would like me to highlight in our conversation today.
Really enjoying the conversation here, Baxi. You know, when you talked about assessments, and I had the opportunity to take your assessments, and we talked about me thinking differently about certain things and my interactions with individuals somewhat lacking empathy at times. That so resonated with me because I hear that from my husband all the time. So just taking the assessments with you reminded me of some areas I still need to improve on as I work with others, employees, and clients. So I thank you for that. We're still waiting to see if we have any questions. If you have any in the room, please let us know. If you have any in the chat area, or if you have any questions virtually, please feel free to put them in the chat area.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to, in fact, if people can take a quick moment to introduce themselves, can we help them do that? Or is there a way for them to actually put in the information?
So virtually we can do that. I know Ryan is in the main room. Ryan, if you hit unmute, I'm thinking individuals in the room will be able to introduce themselves also.
Hey, as much as we would love to do that, we're running a little short on time, Lorna.
Okay.
Okay.
There are a bunch of people in the room, so, but
Okay.
everybody told me to say hi.
Thank you. I have put in the link for people to get their copy of the book free. All you need to do is put in your shipping address and I will mail the copy to you physically. This is the book $1 Million Team Secrets, which I'm sure you can't see the book here itself through the video, but you can see the picture that I had there as well. So Ryan, thank you very much for participating and thank you for other people as well. Lornette, what else would you like me to cover that would make sense for your audience here. If anybody has any, because I want to make sure I answer questions which are pertinent to their current situation, so it doesn't seem like very general for them. That's why I've left time off the head.
Yeah, as we end, as Ryan said, he's actually the president of CNG, the Clarksville Networking Group,
Right.
and we are running out of time. So if it's okay with you, we
Mhm.
will provide them with your email information.
Correct.
And if they have any questions, they can reach out to you. I know you mentioned 5 individuals can take advantage of your services, and we
Mhm.
will speak with those 5 individuals and get them connected to you.
That should be perfectly fine with me. Lornette, any other feedback about the conversation? Is there any other topic that these people are interested? You can get that back to me as well. I would love to be able to support you. I see Sandra put her name in it here. So Sandra, fantastic. I work with a lot of realtors. I love that. I have the model that has worked well for them, what roles, and I would love to assist you. So please connect with me. My email address, etc. Lorna should be able to provide you. And if you want a copy of the book, just use that link I gave you so that you can send that shipping address to me and I will mail the book to you.
Yes, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, we did something a little different. We were in person and virtually, and it worked out great. We thank Clarksville Networking Group for allowing us to be here with them today in office now at in Clarksville, Tennessee. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Baxi, for your time, expertise, and your presentation. And you have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Lorna, Daniel, and other people, please, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Lorna, you still there?